Imagine a quiet farm in the middle of the night, and an entire family vanishing without a single scream being heard. Before we begin, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment if you've ever heard of this case. Because this story is one of the oldest and strangest unsolved mysteries in true crime history. This is the story of the Hinterkaifeck Murders. In 1922, Hinterkaifeck was a small, isolated farmstead in rural Germany, surrounded by forest, far from neighbors. Life there was hard, quiet, and routine. The Gruber family lived together on the property, parents, children, and a maid who had only just arrived. Then, something changed. In the days leading up to the murders, strange things began happening. Footprints appeared in the snow leading from the forest to the farmhouse, but none leading back. Tools went missing. Sounds were heard in the attic at night. The family suspected someone was watching them. They did nothing. On the night of March 31st, one by one, members of the household were lured into the barn. There, they were killed with a farming tool. Brutally. Silently. No neighbors heard anything. No one came to help. What happened next is even more disturbing. The killer didn't leave. After the murders, someone remained on the farm for days. Animals were fed. Meals were cooked. Fires were kept burning. The bodies lay undiscovered while normal life continued around them, as if the killer was living among the dead. When neighbors finally investigated, the scene was horrifying. An entire family wiped out. No clear suspect. No clear motive. Just questions that refused to fade. As investigators examined the farm, the details only deepened the horror. 4 bodies were discovered stacked in the barn, carefully arranged and partially covered with hay. Inside the house, 2 more victims were found, killed separately, quietly, as if the killer knew exactly how to move without drawing attention. There were no signs of forced entry. The doors were locked from the inside. Valuables were untouched. Money was left behind. This wasn't robbery. It wasn't random. Whoever did this knew the farm, the routine, and the people inside it. Even more disturbing were the signs of calm. Fresh food had been eaten. Bread had been sliced. A fire had been tended. Livestock was fed. Evidence suggested the killer stayed for days, sleeping and moving freely through a house filled with the dead. Silence protected him. Neighbors later admitted they noticed smoke from a chimney. They heard animals. Nothing seemed urgent enough to investigate. Hinterkaifeck was remote, and silence was normal. Police launched a massive investigation. Hundreds of suspects were questioned: prisoners of war, former workers, neighbors, even family members. But evidence was scarce, and forensic science was primitive. One suspect stood out: a man with a personal connection to the family. Someone who knew their habits. Someone with a possible motive rooted in resentment and secrecy. But proof never followed suspicion. Witnesses contradicted each other. Alibis couldn't be confirmed. Time erased certainty. The crime scene itself became a problem. Curious villagers walked through the farm before police secured it. Evidence was moved. Tools were handled. Footprints disappeared. What little forensic value existed in 1922 was compromised almost immediately. If you're listening to this and feeling the dread grow, take a moment and comment your thoughts. Because this part of the story forces a chilling realization. The killer didn't rush. He didn't flee. He stayed. And that raises a question no one has ever been able to answer. Why? As the investigation dragged on, the Hinterkaifeck murders transformed from a crime scene into a legend. Without answers, speculation filled the silence, and every theory only made the case more unsettling. One of the most disturbing possibilities was that the killer had been living on the farm before the murders. The unexplained attic noises. The missing keys. The footprints in the snow that led to the house, but never away. Some believed someone had secretly stayed in the attic for days or weeks, watching the family, learning routines, waiting. The idea that the victims were never alone is one of the most chilling elements of the case. Then there were the family secrets. The Gruber household was rumored to be deeply dysfunctional. Allegations of abuse, isolation, and long-standing conflict followed them for years. Some believed the motive was personal, rooted in resentment or revenge rather than greed. Another theory suggested an outsider, a transient worker, deserter, or former prisoner, someone skilled, quiet, and comfortable with isolation. Yet every theory hit the same wall. No confirmed murder weapon. No reliable witnesses. No confession. As years passed, suspects died. Records were lost. The farm was demolished. Hinterkaifeck itself disappeared from the map, erased, leaving only memory behind. Still, the case refused to vanish. It was reopened multiple times. Modern investigators reviewed files and applied contemporary profiling techniques. Each time, they came close to naming a likely suspect, and each time, evidence fell short. The truth was painfully simple. The murders happened too early for science to help, too isolated for witnesses, too contaminated for reliable reconstruction. Hinterkaifeck became a perfect storm of silence. Experts later suggested the killer was likely someone familiar with rural life, patient, methodical, comfortable with tools and animals. Someone not driven by panic. The way victims were lured one by one suggested planning and control. One conclusion became common. The killer was probably someone the family knew. But even that could never be proven. Every suspect eventually died without confession. Files grew thinner. Certainty dissolved. Hinterkaifeck entered folklore. Books were written. Documentaries produced. Theories debated endlessly. But none brought justice. The final chapter is defined by silence. No arrests. No convictions. No explanation. Just an empty field where a farmhouse once stood, and a crime that refuses to be forgotten. What makes Hinterkaifeck so disturbing isn't only the brutality. It's the behavior after. The staying. The eating. The feeding of animals. Sleeping under the same roof as the dead. That level of calm suggests familiarity, confidence, and control. This wasn't chaos. It was control. Today, Hinterkaifeck exists only as a marker. No house. No witnesses. No proof. Just questions passed down through generations. If this story stayed with you, take a moment to engage. Comment which theory you believe most. Because the Hinterkaifeck murders aren't remembered for who was caught. They're remembered because someone wasn't. And somewhere between the forest and the farmhouse, the truth vanished forever.